This is happiness, to be everything at once. Be unblinded, be unlearned, be unbridled and unburned.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Mood Prep. My name is Dave Nixon, and today we're kind of continuing on with a bit of a theme that I basically went through yesterday, which is Turning Pro. Turning Pro is a book by Steven Pressfield, which is a sequel to his book, The War of Art, which in itself, they're both quite small books. They're basically afternoon reads, but however, they're packed full of insight. I quite like Steven's story as well, but he's probably someone interesting to get on the podcast, actually. But either way, Turning Pro, excuse the burnout in the background. We are in camp. We're in Australia. Anyway, the idea of this is being able to move through our resistance, listen to our muse, and understand the resistance for what it is, and how to actually turn pro from an amateur. So this is where this book really ties into it. Now, the page I'm going to read today is called The Shadow Life. And so the Shadow Life, I talk heaps about shadow, and a lot of shadow work is actually sort of born out of like Carl Jung or Sigmund Freud's psychoanalytic work, which is really quite fascinating. A lot of people may sort of push it aside and see it as stuff that's not beneficial, but I really love the work and I love what it means, and I think it's extremely beneficial. So I'm just going to go through and read this passage, and then I've got some notes here that I'm going to pull it apart with. So I hope you guys enjoy it, and this is called The Shadow Life. In the shadow life, we live in denial and we act by addiction. We pursue callings that take us nowhere and permit ourselves to be controlled by compulsions that we cannot understand or are not aware of, and whose outcomes serve only to keep us caged, unconscious, and going nowhere. The shadow life is a life of the amateur. In the shadow life, we pursue false objects and act upon inverted ambitions. The shadow life, the life of the amateur and the addict, is not benign. The longer we cleave to this life, the farther we drift from our true purpose, and the harder it becomes for us to rally the courage to get back. Cool. So the every single page in this book is basically a tiny little essay like that, or a passage if you want to call it that. And I'm going to pull a few more apart this week anyway. But what I really love about this passage is like the understanding, like the shadow life, or the difference between being amateur and being pro is like, some people are professional amateurs, right? And you've got to make a decision whether you're prepared to be a professional amateur or whether you're prepared to be an amateur professional. Right, and the amateur professional is actually what's going to yield you to become an actual professional. And this is really crucial because we still have to be a student. Like a professional is a professional student. They're always studying, right? And this is so crucial because one of the biggest differences between the amateur and the professional is that the amateur will sacrifice what they love for what they like, whereas the professional will wait and they'll pursue what they love and they'll push aside what they like. And this is so crucial because they know the difference between a goal and a dream. They don't just set goals for the sake of setting goals. They understand what the dream is to them, what the muse is telling them to do, and what they truly want to achieve, and they go after that. They don't just set goals for the sake of ticking boxes. And this is so goddamn fucking true, because if you become professional at saying that you don't even enjoy, are you really a professional is the question. So there's a point here. He says, the shadow life is the life of the amateur. In the shadow life, we pursue false objects and act upon inverted ambitions. That is exactly my point, is going, it is so easy for us to get distracted. And let's look at the word distracted, right? It's not having traction towards the things that you want to do. And if we're not in our professional selves, and our professional selves doesn't mean we're not having fun, or we're not laughing, or we're not enjoying a drink. Our professional self is probably the most authentic version of you moving towards what truly is what you want and what your muse is telling you. And that can look different for every single person. A professional artist looks different to a professional lawyer, right? However, they both listen to their muse and move towards things that are purposeful and meaningful for them. And that's one of the biggest differences. I think one of the key things there is like the amateur will seek to indulge in things, right? And the issue with indulging, it's not like we shouldn't have a piece of chocolate from time to time, or we shouldn't be able to enjoy a fine whiskey or anything like that. What I'm getting at with indulging is understanding whether you're indulging or if it's owning you, right? If you're doing it or if it's doing you. And it goes back to like one of Jung's questions of, do men have ideas or do ideas have man, right? And when you think about that, it's like, do I actually have the idea, or does the idea have me? Do I have the indulgement, or does the indulgement have me? And this is crucial, because what that leads to, if it has you, it creep loads. And what I mean by creep loads, it just slowly, exponentially goes one way. And then that's when people go, fuck, next thing you know, you're X, or you're overweight, or you're unhappy, or you're not even in love, or, you know, you hate your job, but you got this mortgage. It's creep loaded because you've ignored what you love for what you like. I was listening to Gary Vee the other day, and he said the problem is that people want to own the Porsche shop, so they buy the Porsche. It's like, you don't do that. You just keep working. And then you own the Porsche shop. The person that buys the Porsche never owns the Porsche shop. And it doesn't have to be a Porsche. It's just the metaphor for sacrificing what we like, for pursuing what we love and what's true to us. And this is so goddamn crucial, because the shadow, if we're not careful, the distraction, the resistance will offer you a nice fruit to distract you from the beautiful roast. And it's so easy to get distracted by that nice thing. It's so easy to get distracted by, like, oh, maybe this will be, and I could just do it right now. And it's not a bad thing yet, but if we indulge that way, it can become this creep loading of like, where the fuck did the wheels fall off? So, fascinating stuff. Let's have a look here. I wrote down a couple of notes. Now, one of the other things I wanted to talk about, right? Turning pro. I think one of the things about turning pro is that's so crucial to understand is that it's continually turning to that which is difficult, right? What I mean by turning towards that which is difficult is that often the thing that we love, that we want to pursue genuinely, is like hidden behind all of these hurdles. And we don't see the thing we want, we see the hurdles. And then we make the hurdles bigger and harder and see them as problems. Or even worse, we see them as catastrophes, right? But problems are actually, if you have a problem, that presupposes there's a solution. So it's time to get to work to figure out the solution. This is the difference between wanting to win the lotto and getting work to support a family. There's a big fucking difference. And too many people want to win the lotto, whether it's their health, their fitness, whether it's their work, their career. Like, what's the easy way? It's like, no, you're missing the point. You're missing the point. The professional understands the process. They respect the process. And I highly encourage you to consider going down that path, to turn towards that which is difficult. And this is the best way that we learn how to silence the critic inside, because the critic inside is so fucking loud. It's so loud. And it's not even your voice. You know this. It's somebody else's words that you repeat for yourself. And you've got to be able to recognize that, and you've got to be able to pull that apart. And that's fucking crucial in order to go towards what it is that you want. Do not sacrifice what you love for what you like. Team, that's it. I'm out. Thank you very much for listening to my podcast today on The Shadow Life. I hope you really enjoyed that. Once again, the book is called Turning Pro by Steven Pressfield. I'll put it up in the Mood Prep Online group, which also leads me to say, as you may know, I am currently writing a book with Mr. Nick Shaw from Renaissance Periodization, and that book is called The Human Movement. Now, I'm aiming to hit 250 as a minimum pre-orders, and I'm at 180 at the moment. I still need 70 more. And it finishes on the 17th of July. So that would also be on my Facebook. It's in my comment section here. It would mean the world to me if you could help me out to reach that target and publish this book. Otherwise, jump on Mood Prep Online. It's free for another week. And then that changes all as of the 1st of July. So if you hear this, jump on Facebook, Mood Prep Online, pop up, I'll accept you. We'll high five, like, Facebook style, and rock and roll from there. Otherwise, if you enjoyed this podcast, it would mean the world to me if you would share it with someone else that you think would also enjoy it. And then that's it. Pass the love. Share the love. I'm out. This is the first one I put on Instagram TV as well. So if you don't already have me on Instagram, jump on Instagram and find me at ddnix. And then, yeah, done. I'm out. Thank you very much for listening. Until tomorrow, peace and pizza, kick today in the dick, and slay the dragon. I'll see you soon.
To be everything at once, be unblinded, be unlearned, be unbridled and unburned.